Just got faded. Aha!
Now we start our story off by first establishing how the Saiyans are going to be in Naruto, and I actually came up with a little way to do so. Basically, I will say here that the Saiyans are a very extinct clan that lived long ago who actually helped the Leaf on many occasions. That is, until when all of a sudden a mysterious person, who shall not be named, slaughtered nearly the entire clan, leaving just a few alive. Fast forwarding, two Saiyans would eventually have a Saiyan child, known as Minato. And as we all know in canon, Minato's parents are kind of never heard of, and so I'm basically going to say after Minato is born, his parents kind of play a minor role and we don't really know where they are, so whatever they were doing in the canon story, we'll just say that those Saiyan parents are doing now. And as we all know, Minato is still going to be a prodigy, but he's going to have Saiyan traits. For example, he's always going to be constantly getting stronger in battle and whenever he's near death. Along with this, he can also transform into an Ozaru. Well, Saiyans can, but not Minato, since Minato's tail was actually cut off at a very young age by his parents. And that's basically the last we hear of his parents. But Minato would still be a prodigy, learning the stuff like Rasengan, being Jiraiya's student, and still becoming the 4th Hokage. That's all taking place, but now this Minato just has, well, Saiyan genes. I also forgot to mention that for the concept of Ki, since Ki is actually heavy affiliated with Dragon Ball and all that stuff, and it would be kind of confusing to have, well, Chakra and Ki be in the same verse, I'm basically going to say that Saiyans actually have a Kekkei Genkai, which basically allows them to manipulate their chakra to the point to where they can shoot blasts out of their hands and even fly. Basically, it's just Ki control, but chakra control in more advanced ways. That's basically what it is. Anyways, as we all know, Minato would still meet and fall in love with Kushina Uzumaki and still manage to become the 4th Hokage and eventually would succumb to the Reaper Death Seal, similar to in canon. Now, as we all know, Naruto would still be born, and when he is found by Hiruzen would actually make sure to watch over Naruto and pay for his house, and even going as far as to even cutting Naruto's tail off, since it would be too risky to having a great ape running around. Yes, Hiruzen would be that much of a boomer to know what an Ozaru is. Yes. Fast forwarding years later, we will see Naruto still being a clown and painting on the Hokage's faces. I don't see this version of Naruto necessarily changing, except for maybe being slightly stronger since he's a Saiyan. But I don't think Naruto would really change that much to a significant degree, and if he really did, it would just be kind of boring, so let's just stick with this for now. Naruto is just slightly stronger, and he would still be tricked by Mizuki, but he is told to steal a scroll, but this time Naruto doesn't take the Shadow Clone one. No. This time he steals a scroll that coincidentally has to do with the Saiyans and actually has Saiyan techniques listed under it. Naruto doesn't even know if this could work, but if he could learn some amazing jutsu, he could probably pass the class. I don't know why the fuck I said that so loud, but anyways. So Naruto would train for hours on end outside until Iruka and eventually Mizuki arrive. Mizuki still reveals to Naruto that he is the nine-tailed fox, but along with the fact that he is also a Saiyan scum. Naruto, hearing this, is overwhelmed, and this leads into Iruka still taking the shuriken for the boy, enraging the Saiyan greatly, and this leads into Naruto going into a blind rage and pummeling Mizuki pretty badly. This then leads into Naruto powering up with an aura surrounding him, and he would then pull a Kid Gohan and shoot a random blast that nearly kills Mizuki. With this, Naruto graduates since this kind of attack is way above his pay grade, and we could then move on to what goes on with Naruto's interactions with Team 7. If you didn't catch the implication, then I'll just say it here. Yes, the teams I don't think would change at all, and I don't think the interactions between the three Genin and Kakashi would change either. So actually, we could just basically go and skip to the bell test. Reason why is because I still think Naruto would still kind of be a horn dog for Sakura, but Sakura wouldn't want him at all, and Sakura would still be kind of focused on Sasuke, which leads into Sasuke and Naruto establishing a rivalry, and still kissing. So yeah, this would still lead into Team 7 being introduced to their proctor, aka Kakashi Hatake, and Kakashi would still get what their dreams and goals are, and they would still take the bell test. When the test begins, Naruto and Kakashi would immediately scrap off in the start because Naruto knows that Kakashi should at least be a very powerful opponent because he is a Jonin after all, and Saiyans do like fighting strong opponents. However, because Naruto has the mentality, it doesn't mean he actually has the physical raw capabilities to even keep up with Kakashi, and he still gets 2 fingers up his ass and he falls into the lake. At that point, Naruto would then get back up, but instead of using the Shadow Clone Jutsu because he doesn't have that, he would keep getting back up and up again until Kakashi just beats him to the point to where Naruto knows he needs to use all of his power if he's going to try and beat Kakashi. He would then power up similar to how he did against Mizuki, and this time he would shoot all of his energy into one blast. Kakashi barely manages to dodge this, but with the sacrifice of his legs being slightly grazed by the attack. Kakashi would take a brief moment to catch his breath and recover, but at that point Naruto is already up to him and is about to steal the bells. Naruto seemingly grabs the bells when all of a sudden there would then be a puff of smoke, which would basically reveal that Kakashi, the one that Naruto was trying to grab the bells from, was actually just a shadow clone. And Kakashi would then come from the ground and do the same thing that he did to Sasuke, but this time to Naruto. At that point, after that, Kakashi would then go out and beat the rest of Team 7, and eventually they would be tied to a pole, and at that point they would still learn about teamwork, which would then lead into Kakashi then passing Team 7 just barely. At that point, we would then have a 1-month time skip between after the bell test and before the Land of Waves arc, which I could definitely see significant changes taking place in this timeline. For example, I can see Naruto during this time getting a better grip on how to use chakra control, since I think he would personally ask Kakashi and how he would try and control his attacks a lot more efficiently. This then leads into Naruto learning more about chakra control and what he can do, and he would be able to get a better grip on the entire concept of chakra control, allowing Naruto to get somewhat used to his new abilities and actually use suppressed attacks, which means Naruto doesn't have to use all of his power or near all of his power in like 1 or 2 attacks. Forgot to mention that during this time, Sasuke and Sakura would have caught on with Naruto's progress, and this leads into them even learning about chakra control as well. And moving on, this would then lead into the Land of Waves arc, which would start up and set up pretty identical to in canon. The only thing that would really change at the start is when the Demon Brothers arrive, they would get completely overwhelmed by a mini explosive wave created by Naruto, which knocks them both out but not killing them. This would basically show how Naruto has actually progressed over the course of the 1 month, and I feel like this would be a pretty good showing of his new skills. After this, they would still keep on moving with even encountering one of the legendary swordsmen known as Zabuza Momochi. Kakashi would still take the front charge here, defending everyone and leading into him getting prisoned by Zabuza, and Naruto and Sasuke would then use the smart Demon Wind Shuriken tactic to free Kakashi. But only this time, as Zabuza is dodging, Naruto would rush and condense all of his chakra he has into his feet, which would allow him to dash right at Zabuza, catching him off guard, and he would then take every last ounce of power he has to hit Zabuza with an empowering blow that has him numb from the pain. Anyways, Haku would come in and save Zabuza as Kakashi then collapses, similar to in canon. However, unlike in canon, the group wouldn't be trying to train because that chakra control training was actually done beforehand, and this time, this would basically mean that the group can head out whenever they want, or whenever Kakashi recovers, I guess. Obviously, while Tazuna is building the bridge, Haku and Zabuza would then arrive, but unlike in canon, Naruto is actually here with the rest of Team 7, ready to scrap with Haku or Zabuza. He doesn't really care. Kakashi would then say that Naruto needs to calm down a little bit and let Sasuke handle Haku while he handles Zabuza. At that point, Sasuke would then kind of bully Haku, and this would then lead into the ice mirror trick, which would then lead into Naruto trying to save Sasuke and then him getting trapped. Similar to in canon, Haku would kind of bully Sasuke and Naruto with the ice mirror trick since they have no way to counter it, and at that point Sasuke would activate the Sharingan before collapsing, seemingly dying. At that point, Naruto would get enraged and activate not only a bit of QB, but also his natural Saiyan rage, which, if you have been paying attention, is something that I've established that Naruto has already had. So if I get a comment saying, "Ah, what the hell is a Saiyan rage?" I don't understand. But anyways, Naruto would get enraged, and this would be enough to actually break out of the ice mirrors pretty easily, easier than in canon. And since this Naruto is significantly above his canon self now, because one, he's training much harder before the Land of Waves, and he also probably got a Zenkai boost against the likes of Kakashi, which would basically lead into Naruto being more powerful than his canon self, which means when Haku realizes that Zabuza is in danger, it's a little too late for him, as Naruto then comes in swinging a full powered punch, influenced by not only the QB but also his rage, which would definitely kill Haku. This would then lead into Zabuza being incapacitated by Kakashi's Raikiri, and when Gato and his men arrive, it is then up to Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 to actually take him down. And I will say here that they definitely are able to take out Gato's men, and they force Gato himself to jump off the bridge. At that point, the bridge would then be named the Great Naruto Bridge, and this would nicely conclude the Land of Waves saga. Alright, so we start our story with a little bit of time passing after the Land of Waves saga, with Team 7 currently waiting for Kakashi since he called a meeting with them. This is where the group would encounter the Saiyan trio, which this encounter kind of plays out similar to in canon, but Naruto this time would have more of a drive for beating Kankuro and Gaara, thanks to his Saiyan blood influencing him. After this, Kakashi would then come by talking about the training exams in which Team 7 would still want to go, and they would still pass the test. At that point, they would still enter the training exams, and I feel like things would start to play out as per normal until Rock Lee stops Team 7 to challenge Sasuke specifically. Naruto gets annoyed seeing another guy take interest in Sasuke and not the stronger person, aka himself, and so Naruto rushes at Lee as Lee attempts to outskill Naruto by low sweeping him, but Naruto would be able to just dodge in time thanks to his far superior speed. He would jump to evade his low sweep and hit Lee with a sledgehammer that leaves a small crater in the ground. Lee did not expect that kind of force and it nearly knocked him out. Sasuke and Sakura are shocked at Naruto's power, but Lee then catches Naruto by surprise and sets up a primary lotus, but he is then stopped by Might Guy. After this, the team then signs in time, and the first round of the Chunin exams would still take place, being similar to its canon counterpart. I don't see really too many changes of Naruto being a Saiyan happen here because Naruto didn't even pass the regular test, and Naruto would still basically say the same speech, and this would lead into him passing the test. After this, the Forest of Death would then be Team 7's next trial, and they would still encounter Orochimaru eventually, and his snake would still eat Naruto. Without having shadow clones, Naruto feels like this is going to be the end for him until all of a sudden he would think to himself how if he dies, his team is going to meet their end as well, and he will never become the strongest or fight powerful opponents. Hell, he can't even settle the score with Sasuke. Naruto knows that this is the worst place for him to die, and as this sinks through Naruto's head, he would suddenly grow in size slightly, while his hair would be floating up as well, and his eyes would shift into a raging yellow. Naruto then shouts out loud, expanding a powerful explosive wave through the snake's body, causing it to explode. Naruto would then see Orochimaru, and Sasuke and Sakura would try to reach out to Naruto, but Naruto just can't hear them. His rage consumed him to the point to where he is powered up over 10 times, and the only thing he can take his power out on is the one who harmed his friends. That's right, Naruto is now in the Ikari state. He begins to completely dismantle Orochimaru, forcing him to extend his neck to bite Sasuke's neck and leave as fast as possible. Sure, Naruto may be a Saiyan, but Orochimaru doesn't fully know that by himself yet, and so I would still think that he would want that Sharingan clout, and he would still try and make a desperate attempt in giving him the curse mark. Naruto attempts to chase him, but his head would force him to stop, and he would then begin to scream out loud, bursting out chakra blasts around the forest, eventually collapsing due to power loss. The reason why Naruto kind of spurged out here is because I want to make a similar case to that of Broly when he uses the Ikari form, because I wouldn't think Naruto using it for the first time would be able to control it. Sasuke and Sakura after this encounter are then forced to make sure Naruto is alright, and Sasuke would be fatigued but not nearly as fatigued as before, and he would still be there to actually fight the Sound 3 briefly, but he would get bodied, and this would lead into Lee stepping in and still losing. Sasuke would then collapse, and he would still witness Sakura being tortured, forcing his curse mark to come in and break Saku's arms. Sakura still stops Sasuke, and Naruto eventually recovers, which would conclude the second portion of the Forest of Death. After this point in the story, things start aligning with the canon timeline, and so they would basically pass through the Forest of Death eventually, and the third round of the Chunin exams would then begin. And these matches, for the most part, except for Naruto versus Kiba, play out as per normal, with Naruto beating Kiba but much easier than in canon. The reason why is because Naruto is actually a lot more powerful, and so he would just defeat Kiba easily by himself without resorting to farting in his face. Eventually, as we all know, he would train with Ibisu and eventually Jiraiya, and this time Jiraiya could actually teach Naruto some things that he thought he could never do, since Jiraiya has actually trained with the Saiyan before, that being Minato. This would lead into Jiraiya actually wanting to help Naruto with the likes of controlling some of the Nine Tails' chakra, along with having more mastery over his Saiyan side of techniques. For example, things such as flight and better chakra consumption overall. Naruto still learns everything he did previously in canon, but this time he is able to fly for brief periods of time, and this would come in handy later on, he believes. As we all know, Naruto versus Neji would then happen, and this version of Naruto just completely outclasses Neji in raw speed and power. Even if his base form wasn't enough, which I think could be based on the growth he's receiving in battles, he has Kurama to rely on, and that Kurama aura in canon was already relative to Neji, and so since this Naruto is just stronger, logically QB Naruto would just be above Neji. And so Naruto doesn't have to beat Neji with some bullshit uppercut from the ground. Rather, he beats him straight up and proves that his destiny philosophy or whatever is complete bullshit. Anyways, as we all know, Gaara versus Sasuke would eventually happen, since I don't think any of the other fights would change, since they wouldn't. And this would lead into Sasuke and Gaara heading out into the forest with Temari and Kankuro, and in reaction to this, Naruto, Sakura, and Shikamaru then head out. But since Naruto is actually much faster and much more powerful than his canon self, and he can fly, I would say Naruto would actually arrive much earlier than Sakura would, and Shikamaru would still try and sacrifice himself, but Asuma would still come in and save him. Eventually, this would lead into Naruto fighting Gaara with Sasuke, and even before Sasuke is pushing himself to the point to where he's using his curse mark. And so Naruto would just completely bully Shukaku Gaara by himself with some help from Sasuke, even though it's a little hard for him since he did use a couple of Chidoris beforehand. and by a couple I mean just one that significantly drains him. And so at that point this would lead into Naruto versus Gaara, which takes place similar to in canon, but Naruto would beat Gaara kinda slightly easier than in canon, and he wouldn't completely fall to the ground with Gaara being fatigued with him. Rather, he would be standing up, telling him that this path that he's going down isn't the right way to go. I don't know, I feel like Naruto just standing up in that endeavor type pose and then giving the talk no jutsu to Gaara, I feel like would be a little bit more significant than what we got in canon. But really, that's all the changes that really occur in this timeline, and Orochimaru would still kill Hiruzen, which would set up the Tsunade rescue arc. Now, with this arc, I don't see too many changes occurring, rather than just Naruto learning the Rasengan actually a lot earlier than in canon, probably way before the Kabuto fight would ever happen, and maybe Tsunade would earn Naruto's respect a lot earlier, or she would give him his respect a lot earlier. But I don't necessarily think too much would change. It's just a stronger Naruto, and Naruto would just beat Kabuto even harder, forcing Kabuto and Orochimaru to retreat slightly earlier than in canon, but that's really all I can see. In the end, Naruto would come back with a much more powerful jutsu, and at that point, Tsunade would also arrive as the 5th Hokage, and she would proclaim her spot. At that point, Naruto would go and visit Sasuke at the hospital, which would lead into their confrontation at the hospital, which plays out similar to in canon, but only this time, Naruto actually forces Sasuke to use the Chidori, rather than Sasuke at first kind of bullying Naruto. And the same would go in as in canon, with Kakashi intercepting just in the nick of time and throwing them both into the water tower. When Sasuke realizes that Naruto is significantly above him, he's just completely annoyed because he saw Naruto just completely bully Gaara, and now he just witnessed him having an even stronger jutsu. Naruto's constantly getting stronger, and Sasuke just doesn't like that at all. This would then lead into the Sound Four eventually chumping Sasuke and eventually convincing him to join Orochimaru's side, which still plays out similar to in canon. If anything, Sasuke has more of a motive to leave, since this Naruto is way more powerful than him than canon Naruto. Similar to in canon, Shikamaru still sets up the Sasuke retrieval team as in canon, and the only thing that would really change here is only some minor things, and I'll just briefly go over those. Naruto wouldn't use flight at the beginning here, since he can only use it for a little bit, and they don't want to be seen or detected by the Sound Four, and so they are still ended up caught in Jirobo's trap, but in the end they would still be freed. Choji and Neji's fights would take place along with Shikamaru and Kiba's, and the only difference here is that Naruto this time is able to use flight after Jirobo and Choji have their scrap. Only difference here is that Naruto would actually get jumped by Kimimaro, and this time being able to actually stand up to base Kimimaro. But eventually Sasuke would be freed and Naruto would want to go chase him down, and at that point Rock Lee would then arrive, taking Naruto's place in fighting Kimimaro, and Rock Lee and Kimimaro's fight along with Rock Lee and Gaara's fight with Kimimaro would take place as per normal. Now for Sasuke versus Naruto, I feel like Naruto at the start would be significantly above Sasuke, and this would push Sasuke to using his curse mark, and even if Naruto was stronger, the whole goal was to scratch his headband, and so I feel like Naruto would still go for that scratch and still get his lung pierced by Sasuke. He would regenerate from this, of course, thanks to his Nine Tails regeneration, and this would still lead into Sasuke leaving the village and Naruto leaving off with Jiraiya to go and train for about 2.5 years. We start our story off with Naruto and Jiraiya in the middle of training, and Naruto would be currently meditating as the camera zooms out and we see him multiple feet in the air while meditating, Jiren style. It appears that Naruto has actually mastered the likes of flying in this timeline, and Jiraiya would then be shown watching Naruto in the farther distance. Jiraiya would eventually go up to Naruto and say how their training for the most part is complete and they can finally start heading back to the village. Naruto and Jiraiya would begin walking back until eventually they return to the village, where Naruto would fly up and shout out loud that he has made his return. Similar to in canon, everyone greets Naruto welcome back, and eventually this would lead into Sakura and Naruto retaking the bell test with Kakashi. The bell test here would actually go very differently, with Naruto actually easily overpowering Kakashi and blitzing him and taking the bells, and off-guarding him by just flying in the air and just coming in out of nowhere. Since this Naruto has been constantly training, I would just say that this Naruto is a lot faster and a lot more powerful than that of his canon self. And not to mention, he's constantly getting Zenkais during his training with Jiraiya, and so that is why I feel like this Naruto should be above at least of the likes of regular Sharingan Kakashi in terms of speed and power. Similar to in canon, Sasori and Deidara still kidnap Gaara, and this leads into Team Kakashi and Team Guy then heading out to the village hidden in the sand to go and try and recruit him. Sakura and Chio would still cure Kankuro from his poison, and furthermore, Chio and them would still head out and encounter the Itachi and Kisame clone, where the Kisame clone would be dealt with similar to in canon, while the Itachi clone would be dealt with a lot faster than in canon. Reason why I would say that the Itachi clone would be dealt with a lot faster is because Naruto is significantly above his canon self in this timeline, and so even before the 30% Itachi could try and attempt some genjutsu or try and escape, he would just blitz and easily neg Itachi's 30% clone. After Team Kakashi gets done, this motivates Might Guy to use the 6K a lot earlier and just neg Kisame so they can get on with the mission, because he can easily end it here, and so he's gonna end it now. Now after this, Might Guy and them would still encounter the clones, while Naruto would easily break through the barrier rather than Sakura being the one to do it, and this would then reveal Sasori and Deidara extracting the Biju from Gaara. Gaara isn't actually fully dead this time because they killed Itachi and Kisame's clones a lot earlier, and so when Naruto sees Gaara, he quickly blitzes past Sasori and Deidara, grabs Gaara, and then brings him back to Kakashi, Chiyo, and Sakura, where he would then say to get back and he'll handle the rest. At that point, Deidara would then try and use some clay attacks, and this would lead into Naruto easily evading every single attack, and this would lead into Sasori using his puppet shell to try and shoot some poison needles, and even that would be dodged by the likes of Naruto. Naruto would then proceed to break Sasori's shell, revealing the actual body of Sasori, and when Deidara tries to use some more clay attacks, Naruto just uppercuts him into the air, saying that what he did to his friend was unforgivable and he's gonna show him no mercy. We then see Naruto being a little bit influenced by Kurama, but he is able to actually suppress it a little bit, and he isn't fully consumed by the Nine Tails. This is because he's actually done multiple trainings with Jiraiya with controlling the Nine Tails' chakra and also the Ikari state, so he's kind of used to this rage right now. At that point, Naruto would then easily combat the likes of Sasori and Deidara at the same time, thanks to his new power boost, and he would then be pushed to use his new power, the Ikari state. The reason why I say new is because we haven't seen this power in quite a long time, and this power is actually different from the versions that Naruto has actually used beforehand in part 1. Reason why is because this Naruto is actually able to maintain this form and actually briefly control it before going completely insane. Sasori and Deidara are just completely blown back by Naruto's power, and this leads into Deidara doing a fake suicide bomb to escape the area with Sasori this time. So Sasori actually lives on. Now with Sasori living on, this basically means that Naruto doesn't encounter Heavy Sasuke because of the information that Sasori doesn't give. And with this basically leads into the Sasuke retrieval mission not actually happening. Before we actually go further in depth, let's wrap up the Kazekage rescue mission. So Gaara would actually be rescued here, and he wouldn't die, which means Chiyo would actually live on as well, meaning no sad ending would happen here, and Gaara would still have the One Tails. Sasori and Deidara, however, haven't completely failed, since they did extract enough Biju chakra to actually give back to Pain, and it actually does satisfy him. Now because of the Sasuke rescue mission not occurring, this means people like Sai or Yamato wouldn't be introduced for the sake of this arc, but I do feel like Naruto would actually learn more about chakra natures thanks to Kakashi being here, and we could just say that Naruto actually learns it a lot earlier in the time span of the Sasuke rescue mission, and during this time Sasuke just waits and trains until Orochimaru is eventually weak enough for him to actually betray him. This would then lead into the formation of Team Heavy and Sasori and Deidara stopping Sasuke in his tracks. When the two then fight Sasuke, Sasori would actually stay back and watch the fireworks, while Deidara and Sasuke would play out similar to in canon. When Deidara does his C0, he would warn Sasori beforehand, and Sasori would basically escape the area. Deidara actually does have respect for Sasori, so I do feel like he would warn him first before he does his complete explosion, unlike with people like Tobi, who he just completely hates. Meanwhile, that's all going down, Kakuzu and Hidan would still kill Asuma, and this leads into Shikamaru's team still fighting the likes of Kakuzu and Hidan, but this time Naruto and Kakashi would go out to go fight Kakuzu and Hidan. This leads into not a prolonged battle with the immortal duo, but rather a short one with Naruto one-shotting Kakuzu and Hidan being completely teamed on by the likes of Shikamaru, Kakashi, Naruto, and the rest of Team 10. Furthermore, this would still lead into the Jiraiya going out to investigate in the Rain Village, and yes, sadly, Jiraiya still dies. When Naruto hears the news of Jiraiya dying, he immediately flies out of the Hokage office and into the mountains. He gets very enraged and even goes into his Ikari form out of frustration. And for a brief second, Naruto's hair would then spike up and his eyes would then turn into a aqua green. Naruto got a glimpse of the Super Saiyan power, but he would quickly turn back into his base form, and he is just completely shocked at the fact that he is able to access this kind of power. Not fully access it, but just briefly. He just knows that this power can be very useful for him, and he could definitely avenge Jiraiya. In the end, Naruto is still cheered up by the likes of Iruka, and he would still go and train on Mount Myoboku. When Naruto would actually tell Paul about this transformation, which I feel like he would since this power is definitely something not to just scoff at, Paul would then say how he actually knows a similar case to this power that Naruto is talking about. Jiraiya's student, aka the 4th Hokage. Naruto is taken aback by this news, and we would then get the story of the 4th Hokage. Now, Naruto doesn't know that this is his father, but there are a lot of parallels between the 4th Hokage and Naruto himself, and Naruto does catch on to this. I'm not going to say here that he just figures out that Minato is his father, because that's not at all what Naruto would think. He would think that he needs to be better than the 4th Hokage and surpass him, because Minato, well, the 4th Hokage, I mean, is looked up as a hero, and Naruto wants to be the same thing and wants to do better. And so Naruto knows if he can probably access this power, he could be a hero and even surpass the likes of the 4th Hokage. And so Naruto, for the rest of his time on Mount Myoboku after training with Sage Mode, would try his best to try and learn about Super Saiyan, but he just couldn't access the form on his own. And so Naruto eventually is then brought to the Leaf Village, where he would then see Pain just completely destroy everything, or the aftermath of him destroying everything at least. When arriving, he would understand that Kakashi has also succumbed to the likes of Pain, like Jiraiya did, and this would greatly enrage him, and he knows that Sage Mode is the only way to try and hard counter the Rinnegan, because at first, he would try and take his frustration out on Pain in his base form, and even try his Akari form, which almost catches Pain lacking, but because of the Rinnegan, he is able to blow Naruto back. Even with all this power that Naruto has, it's still not enough to try and beat Pain's Rinnegan. He's going to need to use Sage Mode. Now, since this Naruto is much more powerful than that of canon Naruto, and he has Sage Mode, I'm going to say here that this Naruto completely bullies Pain even harder than in canon, and eventually he would then run out of Sage Mode and Pain would start getting the advantage. At that point, Hinata would then come in, and Hinata would still succumb to the likes of Pain, and this pushes Naruto over the edge. We would see the Nine-Tails aura consume his body, but he wouldn't go into a six-tailed state. No. He's going something even farther beyond that. Naruto would actually spark up his hair, the same way how he did when Jiraiya first died, and his eyes would turn back into that aqua green. But this time, Naruto is actually able to maintain this power for a little bit of time, thanks to his rage. This is as far as you go, Pain. I'm done letting you hurt my loved ones. At that point, Naruto would begin to easily bully Pain, and Pain would resort to that of the Chibaku Tensei, but instead of getting that little speech with Minato, Naruto's raw power is able to actually overpower the Chibaku Tensei and actually rush at Pain with everything that he's got. Pain being off guarded at the fact that the Chibaku Tensei, his best jutsu, was overpowered, he knows that he is completely outmatched here, and Naruto would hit Pain with the hardest right hook of his life, killing him. Now with this still leads into Naruto trying to use Sage Mode and stabbing himself with the Chakra Rod, detecting Nagato, using Talk no Jutsu, and Nagato would then revive everyone that has been killed. We start our story off where we last left off, which was with Naruto Talk no Jutsuing Nagato and saving the day. Like in canon, he would be declared as a hero in the Leaf, and during this time, Sasuke and the rest of Taka would have already had their encounter with Killer Bee and the 5 Kage. I don't see much changing at this point, so we can just skip to around when Naruto arrives at the summit. Basically, Sasuke still fights the 5 Kage, specifically the Raikage, and barely escapes, and he would still encounter Sakura, and Sakura would still fail to kill him, and Kakashi and Sasuke would still have their fight, but when Sasuke fires the Susanoo arrow, instead of Kakashi throwing a Kamui, it would be Naruto saving him. Naruto, seeing Sasuke doing this, is questioning as to why he would do this to his friends, but Sasuke would basically say how he's basically too far gone, and Naruto and Sasuke would then have their fight. And when Sasuke and Naruto fight, Naruto would be clearly having the advantage here, since Sasuke is too fatigued to even attempt to keep up, and plus this is a far stronger Naruto. The odds are just stacked against Sasuke, and this leads into Sasuke being saved by Tobi and those two escaping, and Tobi still declaring the 4th Great Ninja War. The setup for the war arc would still take place similar to in canon, with Naruto still thinking he needs Kurama's power to save Sasuke, and he would still go through that journey of achieving KCM and meeting Kushina and Minato this time rather than just solely Kushina. The only reason why Minato is here this time and not just Kushina, it's because, well, Minato and Naruto never met in the Pain arc, because remember, Naruto actually overpowered the Chibaku Tensei rather than resorting to trying to unseal Kurama. Now, Naruto would be frustrated at the fact that Minato kept everyone from telling him about who he truly is, but Kushina and Minato just try to justify, which Naruto reluctantly accepts. He can't just be mad at them, especially at a time like this. He understands that they had to do what they had to do, and it already happened anyway. Naruto will still remember this, however, it's kind of like a forgive but never forget type of mentality. And so, Naruto would achieve KCM, and there's something I also forgot to mention, which is the fact that Bee still fights Kisame, and eventually Kisame would be revealed to be hiding inside a Samehara, and Guy and Naruto this time would both fly off, with Guy on the turtle to go and stop him. This would lead into Guy activating the 7th gate while Naruto taps into a little bit of his KCM state, which leads into them capturing Kisame. And when Kisame attempts to commit suicide, Naruto attempts to use a Ki Blast cannon attack to actually get rid of the water around Kisame, but it's already too little too late and he kills himself. Now, if you guys are wondering if Yamato would even be here for the interrogation process, well, I believe he actually would be. He wouldn't be familiar with Naruto as in canon since they never went out on that mission together, but he still does know of Naruto since, well, he did beat multiple members of the Akatsuki. He would still be known by Kakashi and Guy since he does know of them even before Shippuden started, and like in canon, the war would progress with Naruto and B still being actually held back from the war, and when they eventually figured this out, they both try and head it straight into the war but being stopped by the Raikage. And like in canon, the Raikage is actually proven wrong, and Naruto and B are definitely ready for this war. Similar to in canon, Naruto would send a bunch of shadow clones out in the war to go and help out the other alliance members, and they would still encounter Itachi and Nagato. Now, Naruto would be a lot more powerful than his canon self, and so he would actually be shown to catch Itachi and Nagato off guard multiple times, but due to their constant regen, I feel like Nagato would catch Naruto off guard and get ready to steal his soul. However, that is up until Itachi gets his reanimation released, and he, Killer Bee, and Naruto work together to get rid of Nagato. At that point, Itachi would then say to Naruto that he'll go and try and stop Sasuke, while Naruto and Killer Bee keep on proceeding with the war. And as we all know, KCM Naruto would make his way to the battlefield where he would actually fight the third Raikage, and this KCM Naruto is far more powerful than his canon self, and when he uses Sage Mode to get rid of the third Raikage, he does his dodge way more casual than in canon. Eventually, as we all know, Madara would be brought out to the battlefield, and this time, due to him being faster, the Rasen Shuriken actually tags Madara and sends Madara flying, but he just gets back up and then activates his Rinnegan rather than absorbing the Rasen Shuriken. And to be quite honest, I can see this Naruto actually having a lot more energy, or his Rasen Shuriken having a lot more energy than its canon self, because of his much better chakra control. And so even if Madara tried to absorb it, I feel like the Rasen Shuriken would still push him back, and Madara wouldn't be able to absorb the full Rasen Shuriken. Similar to in canon, the Chibaku Tensei is then released, and Inoki and Naruto work together to push it back, and especially with Gaara's assistance, they would be easily able to stop the first meteor a lot faster than in canon, and slow down even the second one. Eventually though, they would be defeated by the Chibaku Tensei, but they would be shown to be alive, and eventually the 5 Kage would post up in deciding to fight Madara, while the real Naruto and B around this point would have encountered Obito. Now this fight is significantly different than its canon counterpart because in the canon timeline, the Bijus were actually able to hold their own against KCM Naruto and the likes of Killer Bee, but with Killer Bee and this stronger Naruto here, Killer Bee would do just as well as he did in the canon timeline, but with the help of a much more powerful Naruto, they would actually be able to body the Biju a lot easier than in canon, and it would basically come down to the point to where they don't lose chakra, well the Biju don't, and Naruto and Killer Bee eventually wear themselves out. However, before Naruto gets eaten, I do believe Guy and Kakashi would make their way to the battlefield and arrive fighting alongside Naruto and Killer Bee. Guy and Kakashi and Killer Bee would fight alongside KCM Naruto a lot longer until eventually he does get caught off guard and he does get eaten by Son Goku. And Guy, Kakashi, and Killer Bee try their best to stall until eventually KCM2 Naruto is born. Now with this, KCM2 Naruto would still slap all the Biju with Killer Bee. Probably he could do it without Killer Bee in this timeline, but we'll just say for the sake of simplicity, he does do it with Killer Bee. Now after this point, I do feel like things start aligning with the canon timeline, and it's just the only thing that changes is Naruto being a lot more powerful than his canon self. And so if Obito doesn't get his identity revealed the same time as in canon, it would happen earlier and Obito would then be revealed. Madara would then arrive and he and Obito would try their best to fight Naruto, Killer Bee, and the others, and Naruto does a lot better than in canon because, well, it's a far stronger Naruto. And this Naruto is actually able to withstand Madara's attacks and actually hold his own a lot better than his canon self against the god of Shinobi. This would then lead into Naruto's best jutsu, the Shinobi Alliance jutsu or whatever, and this would still lead into Naruto and them trying their best to try and combat the Ten Tails. Only difference here is instead of using Sage Mode after running out of KCM, he would use the likes of Super Saiyan. Sadly, however, the Ten Tails would still do that whole wooden spear barrage, and with one of them being aimed at Naruto, Hinata tries her best to intercept, but Neji would then intercept that, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, Neji still sadly sacrifices himself. Naruto is at the point of literally going insane until Hinata tells him to calm down, and he goes Super Saiyan out of rage, and Naruto in that instance would actually ascend past Super Saiyan and go into something even further beyond that. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't get the implication already, Naruto is actually tapping into the Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan Grade 2 state. Naruto would try and ascend past that, but Hinata would calm him down like in canon, and Hinata and Naruto would actually work together and decide to take down Madara and Obito together. Naruto would still give the Shinobi Alliance his chakra, and Naruto and the Alliance begin fighting Madara and Obito. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, things start aligning with the canon timeline once again, and Obito and Kakashi would have their fight, and the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki known as Obito Uchiha would then be born, and Naruto and Sasuke would still work together in actually defeating him. And yes, if I didn't already hint it well enough, yes, the entire Sasuke portion and the 4 Kage being revived, all that stuff happens as per normal, and this would still lead into Naruto and Sasuke still succumbing to the likes of Madara when he was revived, but then meeting the Sage of Six Paths, and he then grants them new powers. But in this timeline, I feel like Naruto would actually get something that actually fits more well into his Saiyan side, and so I'm going to say here he actually gets a mastered form of the Super Saiyan state. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he does get the Master Super Saiyan form that Gohan and Goku first obtained during the Cell games, and so he and Sasuke would actually have the same powers, by the way, would work together to defeat Madara, but only for Madara to be betrayed by Zetsu and Kaguya then being revived, and then Team 7 working together and defeating Kaguya. And the only difference that's gonna really happen in the ending is Sasuke and Naruto, the fight is more one-sided than in canon, and I feel like Naruto would defeat Sasuke without the sacrifice of losing his arm, and this would go the same for Sasuke. So they would actually make peace, and Sasuke would admit that Naruto did indeed win, and so this would conclude the Naruto story with Naruto becoming Hokage and eventually marrying Hinata and making the garbage child known as Boruto. And for some of you who are going, but Tyler, what about the last? It happens the same, it's just Naruto's a lot more powerful, and no, I am not covering Boruto.